Welcome everyone to our class in in-depth study of the Chumash, the Torah, Baruch Hashem. We're involved in one little halacha, which is when you pay back someone for damage that you did, chas v'shalom, then the Torah says, Meitav Sedei, Meitav Karma, Yishalem. Now, we trace that through Rabbi Kiva, Rabbi Shmuel, and Papa's question. It seems that once we say that, once we say that Meitav Sedeu is a item that can be used for paying back, so then we came into a contradiction with Subin, another pasuk, and the unstable partner over there, which is kesef. So in other words, the Torah, when it talks about paying back for damages, says that there are three items that can be used: kesef, shavik kesef, and meitav. Rav Papa said, wait a minute, you can't tell me the worst is good and then also the best. Why? If the best precludes the worst, and if you say the worst, then it's obvious the best. It's kal v'chomer. Torah doesn't waste its time. So we had all these answers, and we boiled down the answers. The Gemara pushed away everyone except two answers. There was Rav Papa and Rav Huna. Rav Papa, as we were learning the Rif and the Rush, seemed to say that all these three items are equally valid as a payback. And Rav Huna said, no, metaltalin is the worst. And therefore, you can only pay with kesef or karka. And only if you don't have, you can use metaltalin. So that seemed to be the story until we ran into the Ramah, Joseph. He brought the Ramah, said there's a triple hierarchy. We only saw a double hierarchy in Rav Huna. He says, no, it's a triple hierarchy. And the Nemuk Yosef is found all in Rav Papa. That means kesef first. If you don't have kesef, then metaltalin, which is closer to kesef, and finally, karka. When we looked at the Rambam, he had a double hierarchy. He puts, actually didn't talk about kesef, but everyone's putting kesef and metaltalin together in the Rambam. And the poor stepsister there is shavik kesef. And that we didn't see in Rav Huna or Rav Papa. So we have to find the Rambam source. Now, the Rambam is one of the key partners in the final halacha, and whether Rev Yosef Cairo in the Shulchan Aruch is using him or not is one of the questions that have to be solved. So that was the level of the Rishonim. Whoops, look at that. I didn't know you can do it. Now, the Tur. Okay, so the Tur quotes a language that's very similar to the Rambam, except he cuts something about the Beis Din, and we have what we call the Nosei Kalim, the people who are commenting on the Tur, a very, very big discussion of what he is, what halacha actually is. And it broke into two parts. Either he's saying the Yad Nizek is Alyona, like the Beis Yosef said, really, that the Tur is not following the Rush, even though I have an arrow here, it's only a historical arrow, but he's not following the Rush. Of course, the Rush held all three elements were equal as a payback, but he's actually learning from Balchov that the person who's collecting has a right to demand metaltalin, okay, over karka, and that's how the Beis Yosef interprets what the Tur was saying when he said that you collect first from the metaltalin, which means, again, just to spell it out completely, that if the Nizak wants metaltalin and the Mazik wants to give him karka, the Nizak wins. That's all. The Yad Nizak El Alyona. The Levush Ir Shushan adds, that by the way, the Tur does not mention the Rambam at all. Excuse me, the Beis Yosef doesn't mention the Rambam at all. He says that's the Tur plus this import from Balchov. That gives you the din of a precedent of metaltalin over karka. The Levush Yishrushan does mention the Rambam. He says, no, this is actually the Rambam. Rambam holds that there's a priority of metaltalin over karka. On the other side of the scale, we had the people who said, the sun's going around the earth again. This is the old Tur is just the old Reb Papa that we always knew, brought down from the Rush and the Rif, which is all three elements are equal. And the only thing he's saying is if the Nizak is yelling, I want the Pasuk Meitav, and the Mazik says, no, I want to give you Metaltalin, so the rule is he gets Metaltalin. Okay, the halacha is not like the simple Pasuk. It's not like Reb Huna where the Mazik has to give Okesef or Metaltalin. The halacha is that Reb Papa, you have to give all three. So that means that both the Bach and the Drisha tell us that the Tur is just following in the footsteps of the Rif, which is the Rush, or the old standard system that there's no hierarchy, all three things are equal. So that was the big machlokus that we had in the Tur. Either said that what was going on in the Tur is just Reb Papa, all three things are equal, or you're machadesh like the Beis Yosef, a new din of the Tur against what we knew, imported from the Baal Chov, that there's a precedent of metaltalin over karka. And that's what the Nizak can demand. You can say, look, I don't want your karka, I want your metaltalin. So that's where we got to in the Tur. Then we went to the Shulchan Aruch. The Shulchan Aruch, of course, is written by Rabbi Yosef Cairo. So what did he do here? So here we had another problem. He now, instead of the Tur, which left out when the Beis Din is going, for instance, he puts in all the words of the Rambam. Okay, so it's almost a complete quote. We just saw some minor little grammatical changes. Yafi Sheba Nechasim was Ma'umu Leben Nechasim, just minor little changes or grammatical changes, but it's almost exact quote of the Rambam. So the Sma, who is really the dream person, Rabbi Yeshua Folk, again, quote unquote, hijacks the Shulchan Aruch and says, this is really just old Reb Papa again. Just like I told you in the in the Tur, in the Yad Mazik Zelyona, and that's probably what he believes the Rambam's holding also. The Shach now comes, and he's going to change our view and say that all these people who insist that both the Tur and the Shulchan Aruch are the old world view of the Rush and the Rif, that everything is equal, made a fatal mistake. They got that from Rabbeinu Tam, and they pushed it into the halacha, but it has nothing to do with the halacha. The halacha is like the Rambam. The Rambam gives a precedent of metaltalin over karka, and I'm going to prove it to you by what a lot of people that came before me said, and also through an analysis of the Gemara. Okay, that's where we are holding. So here's that picture of the Shach. He's going to take on all the red people, you see, all these red people who attacked the Beis Yosef and said that the Tur was the old world Tur, that everything's equal. He's going to come along. Here's the Shach. He's going to have their proofs, and then he's going to do the same thing to the Sma. He said, what do you hijacked the Shulchan Aruch and said the Sma was, the Sma said that, or even worse, you said that in order to solve the Lashon of the Shulchan Aruch, you said that the Mazik was not around. And it's a din in Beis Din. The Beis Din has to figure out what the Mazik would have given. And normally, even though a Mazik has equal choice between the three elements of Kesef, Sheva, Kesef, and Meitav, he would probably give Metaltalin before Karka, and that's all that the Shulchan Aruch was talking about. So the Sma attacks him, and he says, you can't set up the Shulchan Aruch that way. The Shulchan Aruch quotes the Rambam, Kimat verbatim. It is the Rambam, and it can't be that the Mazik's not around, because even if the Mazik's dead, his children, we collect from Karka, and according to you, the Beis Din should say to the children of the poor Mazik who's not around, he probably would have given Metaltalin. So he says, I'm sorry, we have to reject your interpretations of the Tur and the Shulchan Aruch and really read the Rambam exactly, clearly, exactly the words of what he said. He said that there is a priority here, that you give metaltalin, and after that, if you don't have metaltalin, then you go to the karka. And it has nothing to do with the desires of the mazik or the nizak, and it's not the old world view. It is the din. Now I have to go and prove that to you. And I'll prove it two ways, actually three ways. One, through what people said. Secondly, because it says, I said it's a simple meaning of the text. And third, I'm going to show you your fatal mistake. All you people who are trying to push the Shulchan Aruch and the Tur into, and also the Rambam, because you have an old world view that's based on Rabbeinu Tam. Well, that is Rabbeinu Tam's position, that you have a choice, but that's not the Rambam. The Rambam reads Rav Huna differently, and therefore comes to a different conclusion. So leave the Rambam as he said it. That's the din. No mazik, no nizak. There's a priority. And that is the work of the Shach. Now, the Shach we're going to now enter into. But before we do, look what I did. Wow. You see that? What is that?
This is everybody, huh? Right from the beginning? Everybody from the beginning?
Yeah, it's everybody. But also, we had to add in over here now, because the Shach now is going to talk. There are 4 different places in all of Shas that the Shach sees simultaneously that Rabbeinu Tam is mentioned. Okay? He's not just mentioned here in Daf Tes, where we started with Rav Huna. We have a myopic view of the Gemara. We can only see what's right in front of us. But if you have a broad view like the Nesher HaGadol, the great Rambam, and also the Shach who knows all of Shas, he's going to bring us now through all the different areas where Rabbeinu Tam is mentioned, and show us that Rabbeinu Tam Shita is one of choice and not hierarchy, but the Rambam is going to be hierarchy and not choice. Okay, so I have to prove that to you. So that's what we're going to do here. What I did here now, I didn't finish the whole chart because there's a lot of details, but let me just show you for educational purposes. It took a little while to create this thing, and also what's nice is I can, if I want to, I could. It's a real, these tables. If I go like this, for instance, you see, if I go like this, I can. It'll make all the Baba Kams come together, and then I could see what the Rabbeinu Tam said about each one of these cases in Baba Kama. Okay, that's just what a table is. I told you my friend Aaron Marcus said he always knew that the world was waiting to catch up to the rabbis, which means that the Torah is of Hashem, so it's about very, very deep and clear thinking. And the tools that we have, whether it's Excel, Word, or Visio, are just trying to mimic what the healthy mind does. So we can use these tools because now it helps us keep things together, little pieces, and it's very hard to keep the flow of the argument together. So we use the tools just to demonstrate very clearly where we're holding, and very much important, what each level does. Each level receives the Torah and then reads it and then comments on it. So as we've seen, we've had these little points in every generation where the depth of the Torah is being explained. Okay, so here we've come to a crossroads in the Rishonim about hierarchy. Everybody holds, definitely, the Torah says Kesef, Shavik Kesef, and Meitav. That's obvious, everyone knows that. And we know, according to Rabbi Akiva, everyone agrees with that. It's a form of payment, and we solve the 2 ways according to Reb Papa Rav Huna. Everybody knows that. But the question is, one, what is the final halacha? Is it like Reb Papa and Rav Huna? And more importantly, really, what is the peshat in Reb Papa and Rav Huna? Is it as simple as we think it is, okay? Because we're just reading Rashi and we're absorbing wholesale everything Rashi says, or Rabbeinu Tam, and absorbing, we believe in Moshe, Hashem and Moshe Avdo, and everyone is, but are we getting the point? So here's a little chart. This is what I did. Now, the chart, forget about the mispar. This just helps me organize things. First of all, we have the Rishonim. We're going to have the Rif, Rambam, the Ramah with a Hey, the Rambam, and we're going to have 4 different places that we're going to talk about today where Rabbeinu Tam speaks about this, about case of Nezikin. Okay, so those are our variables: Rif, Ramah, Rambam, and Rabbeinu Tam. Let's start on Daf Test. What cases are involved in our cluster or constellation of cases? Well, first of all, there's the case of Nezikin, okay? And we'll discuss in a second the different opinions on Nezikin. The second case in our constellation is called Baal Chov, okay? The third case is called Mekachtos, misrepresents an item, and the person who gave the money, the lokeach, has to get his money back from the mocher. And finally, we have the person who works and now would like to collect his wages at the end of the day. So those are the 4 cases that are involved in this matrix or in this constellation, and they're going to interact with each other. They'll have certain dinim which are similar and certain dinim which are unique. And it's going to be our job to understand how they interact, where they're similar, where they're different. And then at the end, after we're very clear about what each of these Rishonim say, we have to say a svara. Explain. It says Igur d'shmaisa svara. The reward of the learning is a svara. It means you get an understanding of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and how he wants us to relate in these different relationships, okay? And that's really the exciting part, which is manishtana. What is the difference between these relationships, and first of all, what's the similarity between all of them? Because the Rabbeinu Tam has put them in the constellation together, and why do each one of them have the variations in din that they do? Okay, that's going to be the exciting thing. So let's do the simple ones first. I didn't finish out the whole chart here, but because today we're going to concentrate on Rabbeinu Tam. So let's do first the simple cases of Rabbeinu Tam. What I mean is, in all these in these last 3 cases of the Baal Chov, the Mekachtos, and the Poel, everywhere Rabbeinu Tam says the same thing. Okay, what does he say? He says, as far as the Baal Chov and the Mekach, so the din is that you must give kesef first. That's why I put a number 1 in green. And when you don't have kesef, then you can give metaltalin. Okay, so these 2 cases are equivalent, because the meaning that really a mechaktos person, the mocher who has to pay back, is nothing more than a Baal Chov. There's an equivalent. Since they're an equivalent, well, of course, a Baal Chov has nothing to do with Nezikin, and you don't need to do the din of Meitav, right? Because Meitav with Nezikin, but you do have to give a precedent, since it's Baal Chov, of money over metaltalin. That means if you have money, you have to give it. So we said from the Rush, the svara we said of the Rush in the Malva was, since the Malva gave money, he has a right to get back money. That would apply also with Mekachtos, right? The person paid money, and then the item, instead of being a shore that was for plowing, turned out to be a nadchan, a goring shore. So since I gave money, says the person who was deceived, to the mocher, I want my money back. Okay, so those 2 cases are equivalent in all the different Rabbeinu Tams. Okay, in here he just doesn't talk about these 2 cases. Okay, we'll look at them. Here in this in Baba Basra and Kesuvos, he doesn't mention the cases. He really only, but he doesn't say any contradiction there. Okay, now the Poel is uniform throughout Rabbeinu Tam. The Poel who worked for you, right? And he has a Gemara. You can't say, well, you were baking some pitas, so take a couple stack of pitas and get out of here. No, there you have to I say zuze, right? You have to go out, you the employee, and you go sell your pitas and you bring that worker money. Okay, so that was the din over there. We didn't explain why, but that's what the din is. Okay.
What does I say zuze mean?
You must bring zuze. Yeah, you the mocher, sell pitas and bring me money. I worked for you, right? I worked for you.
So what's the difference? How's that different from kesef, from the first one? Is that the same thing?
No. The other cases, these other cases here, Balchov? Oh, no, it is. No.
I mean,
Kesef, no.
Case of Poel.
Oh, it means like this. It means this is how it's different. You must give the Poel money, right? And you cannot give him metaltalin or meitav, right? But unlike the other cases where you can give him metaltalin, for instance, or meitav, depending upon what, here you have to go out, you the mocher have to go out and sell it. The other cases, in other words, there's certain cases where you can give, let's talk about the Baal Chov. If you don't have kesef, you're allowed to give him a metaltalin. He can't say to you, I gave you kesef, I want my kesef back. Okay? The person who loaned the money goes the creditor goes to the borrower and he says, I would like my money back. The borrower says, I would love to give it to you, but I just don't have any cash. So you can take 10 bags of pitas, 100 bags of pitas, that's all I have. Now the malva cannot say to him, you go out and sell your pitas and bring me money. He has to accept the pitas if he doesn't have money. Mm-hmm. Okay? But if it's a worker, the worker says, you, Mr. Employee, go out and sell your pitas and give me money. You hear the difference between malva mekachtos and, okay, that's the difference. All right. So we have union rights over here, right? So yeah, unionized rights. The guy worked for you. You can't tell him to go run around for the money. You have to run around for the money. Okay. Now, if you notice, we have all different colors over here. Us to the poor Nizak, okay? Because everybody, for their own reasons, which we have to investigate deeply, has a different setup. Okay, what was unique about Nezikin that Baal Chov, Mekachtos, and Poel do not have? What was unique was this idea of tough. Okay. Alchov, if you don't have money, you can give him metaltalin, but he has a right. We said, well, that's going to be a big problem in Balchov. So what happens in Balchov if you have metaltalin and karka? Yes, exactly. He can say, I want my metaltalin. Actually, now that I see this, even though the din, and here's a little bit, I didn't think to put this in the chart. In Balchov, there's no din of, that's why I went zero here. But there is a din of karka. You with me? What happens if, let's say, the easiest scenario? Let's say if the borrower has no money and has no metaltalin. All he has is a piece of land, right? So in that case, the malva has to accept it, right? He can't tell him, go sell your land and give it to me. Okay, but he has no right to the best land. Matter of fact, the din Balchov is that he can only get the medium land. Okay, really you're supposed to get the worst land, but the Torah felt that we'd close the door off to anyone borrowing money if that was the din, so they give him baininess. Okay, whether it's the Torah, whether the Rabbanan was Gozer, we have to get into that a little better. But anyway, this box over here, it doesn't mean that you can't give land. It just means that you can't give metaltalin. Okay, so in Baal Chov, okay, that's why it's a zero. It just means you don't have to give meitav. but you can give land. Now the question is, you have land in metaltalin, what could you give? So the Rush said very clearly, I have to find some sort of way to annotate this in a way, is that the Malva can say, I want my metaltalin over the land because it's closer to Kesef, right? Anything that's closer to Kesef, I can demand. That was the svara. I gave you Kesef, therefore I can give it back. Okay, and therefore since metaltalin is better than land, if I want metaltalin, I can demand it from you over the land. Okay, but that was the din in Baal Chov, and then it'll spread over to Mekachtos. Okay, but at least Benu Tam, what we're dealing with now, is consistent. Here is where we start to have problems. When we enter Meitav into the equation. With Agamara, here I wrote in Agamara, maybe I'll blow it up a little so you can see better with all these little chicks and jags and dags here. What I did over here is I wrote here just from what the main case in the Gemara was, because the Rabbeinu Tam speaks about these three different the relationship of Kesef, Subin, and Meitav to Nezikin in three different places. He talks about it in Agamara, in Daf Tes. He talks about it in a Gemara that talks about Mekachtos and Memvav, and another Gemara that talks about Mekachtos and Sadi Beis. And then he talks about it in Kesuvis when the Gemara is talking about Balcho over there. Of course, eventually we're going to have to go into each one of the nodes, right? Because these nodes are cases in the Gemara, and the information is either going to be unique there or going to flow to the other cases. So we're going to have to do more research now because the world has become larger than we thought. This is all the Shach bringing us the view because we're going to have to explain the Rambam. So we're going to have to go through a larger view of the Shas. We're going to have to now fly on eagle's wings throughout the whole system and start seeing the relationship of each case to the other case more carefully. But let's just get an overview first. Okay. In our Gemara, in Nezikin, on Daf Tes, with Rev Huna, on Rev Huna. So the Tosfos brings Rabbeinu Tam and Sefer Yosher, and he says, Rabbeinu Tam pesaks like Rev Huna. What did that mean? O Kesef Meitav, right? And only if you don't have, do you give Subin. Correct? And whenever you give your metaltalin or your land, the mazik, never have to run around and sell it. You don't have to ice zuze. That's clear. Okay. Now we have another Rabbeinu Tam. We'll see all these things inside. Put it in Mem Vav. There the story is talking about Mekachtos, another one of the nodes in the constellation of cases. And there he repeats what he says to us here in Daf Tes, i.e. Kesef Meitav, that's the halacha, and only if you don't have Subin, Rev Huna. Now, here comes the surprise. In the Gemara that talks about Mekachtos, which is Bava Basra Tzadik Beis, there, all of a sudden, we have Rabbeinu Tam being quoted as saying the halacha is like Rav Papa, that you can give Meitav, Subin, and Kesef all equally. Okay, so that was brought to us from the Shach. I also looked up Yashiv and Meitav, and I tried to see if I could find another case because I have Google and all these great search programs. Lo and behold, I could not find any other place that this machlokes was found. So once again, the people who know what's going on and see the whole picture brought us the relevant material. So this is the one that the Shach brings up to us, this case. Very unusual. And we said, well, let's be a little more accurate and look at these two cases. And what we noticed was in Tes, in Agamar Tes, when the Tosfos says that Rabbeinu Tam holds the halachas like Rev Huna, he quotes from Sefer HaYosher. Sefer HaYosher is actually a book that Rabbeinu Tam wrote. So when he wrote his book down, he said the halacha is like Reb Huna. But this Gemara in Baba Basra said, Margale Bapumba, the Rabbeinu Tam. He was used, I think I translate it as pro, but I think it's Ragil. He was used to say, I mean, it was like a proverb or a bitui, or he used to always say in his shir that the halakha is like Reb Papa. Okay, so now we have a little bit of a problem. Our oral tradition here, what he used to say in the Beis Midrash was the halakha is like Reb Papa. When he came to writing the book, it was like Reb Huna. So we have a little bit of a problem here, but that's what is said in both places. In Kesuvis, he doesn't tell us about Subin, but he says you can use Kesev or Meitav. Okay? So that could be either position, because he doesn't tell us about the very important Subin factor. Is Subin equal to Kesev and Meitav or less? That'll be the difference between whether he holds Reb Papa or not. So that's all the sources of Rabbeinu Tam. Okay? So that's where we are holding, and our work is cut out for us. Here, I don't want to scare with all these charts. I'm really just trying to make things clear, okay? Here's the 4 cases in our constellation. There's a case of Nezikin. In other words, we have, it's all called Pirion. You're trying to get money back, okay? I want my money back. Either I want my money back because I loaned you money, I want my money back because you tricked me with your sale, mekachtos, or my money back because you damaged my property, you took my money away, I want my money back, or I want my money back because I'm a worker and you never paid me, okay, and I want my money. So those are the 4 cases that we're dealing with here. The case of the Zichin, Baal Chov, Mekachtos, and Poel. Okay, that's what we call the constellation of the cases, and we have to now see how they interact with each other. Okay, I won't go into more detail here. Basically, this is Reb Papa. He's all the Rishonim that are brought down, but I'm not going to go into that detail. We'll get into that later. The other 3 cases that are going to be brought are the case of Rev Kahana, as you remember, from the Rush brought him to show that the halacha can't be like Rav Huna, because the only way you can learn Rev Kahana is if that metalton is equal to Meitav and Kesev. Okay, because that Gemara won't work over there with Amesi Alo unless you say that. Then we have this case, which we have not even looked at yet, which is a brand new case, which also mentions Yashiv, that the Shach is going to bring to show us that the Rambam really is quoting his din from here, because the actual word niskakin is actually used in this case in Baba Kama Yud Dalet. So he's going to say the Rambam quoted his case from here, and from here you'll see clearly the shita that metalton is better than meitav. And finally, there's this other case of that's quoted in the Beis Yosef actually, but this is Gittin. Gittin actually is we actually haven't gotten to Gittin, but Gittin is what's called a magbil. It's a similar setup to our case in Baba Kama, i.e. this whole thing brings Rabbi Shmuel, and it brings Rabbi Akiva, and it has a bias problem over there. So it's a similar setup, except it's a different focus. So we haven't really gotten too much involved with that. That would be, again, after we get our basic structure set up, then we can expand into this other case, okay? But what I'm trying to do is when people bring up the cases, I want to know where they fit in the matrix, okay, and how they affect the matrix, okay? Because they're only bringing them up, like this case of the Shach is bringing up this case of Bakes and Niskakan because he wants the Rambam. If you don't explain the Rambam, you bring up, so you'll have to explain that case differently. So that's where we're holding, okay? Basically, we have 4 cases in our constellation here: damage of improper sale and a worker. And those are the 4 cases that the Rabbeinu Tam holds. There's a interaction between both of us and a similarity, i.e., everybody is being owed money. So in a certain way, all these people are like creditors, but they have more or less rights depending upon which specific hat they're wearing, whether they're a nizak, whether they're a malva, whether they're a mekaktos or a poel. They all have variations in the din, and that's exactly what we're involved in at this point. Okay, so again, all these introductions are a little bit lengthy, but it's very easy to get lost in the situation, and the whole exercise is to keep us focused. Okay, so now let's go back to the shach. Now remember, here's our dear case of the shach. Now, the world up to the rush, up to the work we did in the rush, the world was very simple. It consisted of two players, Reb Papa and Reb Huna, and the only question was, is the halacha like Reb Huna or Reb Papa? That was up to that point. When it came to the tour, all of a sudden the world became a little more complicated because we saw a din that we never saw before, that the nizak had, according to the Beis Yosef, all of a sudden we have a precedent of a metaltalin over karka. Now that we never saw before, because either we've been learning Reb Papa holds the metaltalin is equal to karka, the master can give either one, or Reb Huna said that metaltalin is worse than karka, but we never saw this third tradition that metaltalin has any advantage over karka. So that was a surprising anomaly, and whenever we see anomaly, we know that there's a cause for that anomaly, that cause, and we're now searching for that cause. Why did the tour write such a strange thing that we haven't seen before? So we said that there were two basic answers. Either we keep the old world theory, the earth-centered world, and we say he's just explaining that you don't go after Meitav like the Pasuk or like Rav Huna. Or we have a new world theory, that the heliocentric world where the sun is in the middle, and all of a sudden we say no, the din is, there is a preference of metalton over Meitav. Well, if you're going to be a new world theorist, you have to prove your point. You say that's what he holds, and that's what he says. You have to understand, where did the Rambam get it from, or whoever's writing it, where did they get it from? So that's what we're involved in now. This anomaly here that gives metaltalin a precedent over karka, where did it come from? Okay, so the Shach is going to say, you're old world people from the Balei Tosfos, and the Rambam is a new world person. He had a different reading of the Gemara, and I'm going to show you that reading, and that's why you made your mistake. So your whole interpretation of the Tur and the Rambam and the Shulchan Aruch, and of course the Rambam, was just because you're prejudiced, because you think that everybody holds Rabbeinu Tam. Well, the Rambam doesn't hold Rabbeinu Tam. So we said to the Shach, that's very nice. I mean, he knows that. So he says, but I want to prove it to you also. Don't think I'm just going to say this on the top of my head. I'm actually going to prove to you that the Rambam is a different worldview than Rabbeinu Tam. Okay. Now that will set the stage for the rest of our discussions. We have another few hundred years to go. We're going to get to around 50 years ago, but that's going to be, you're either going to be a pro-Shach person or an anti-Shach person. Okay, you're either going to knock him off in some way, or disprove what he has to say, or you're going to show that he's right to a certain extent, but not completely, or else, because you're just going to repeat the Shach. Or you're going to bring up problems and you don't know what he's saying. You interpret him. That's what you could do. So you're either going to interpret him, you're going to agree with him partially, you're going to fight him completely. Those are going to be the alternatives as we go through the rest of this exciting lesson. Okay, but that's where it's holding. So I hope I haven't thrown too much at you, but basically we just have to focus on one point. There is somewhere an advantage of metaltalin over karka, correct? That's what the Tur and the Beis Yosef and the Rambam say. our job is to find out where they got, what's the source of that din. Now, there's no direct communication from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's got to be in the Chumash, the Gemara, Rishonim. It's got to be there. We got to see it. I mean, he is a Rishon, the Rambam, so we have to see where the source is. Okay, so here's classic style. Very quickly, the Shach. As we said, the Shach is a gever. He stands up and he says, read the Shulchan Aruch as it is. Yes, you must give metalton before meitav. You have a problem where it is. Don't worry about it. I will show you where it is. But you don't start telling me about the Ratzon of the Mazik and the Nizak. The Mazik's not around, all these fanciful cases, because you want to maintain the old world theory. Okay, you can do that, but that's not, admit the facts that he said what he said, and now let's understand why. So he brings the Sma, who is an old world theorist, and who said that the Mazik's not around, and the Beis Din has to decide what the Mazik would give, but really this is all Reb Papa. And the Sma says, of course, my interpretation is not what the Beis Yosef said, because the Beis Yosef said that the Nizak has power because he learned that from Baal Chov. And he's a new Shita. Okay, that's what the Sma said. And of course, the Shan followed the Beis Yosef that whatever the Nizak wants, he gets, because he has Yada Alad Yona. But says the Sma, that's not what the Tur meant, and not what the Shulchan Aruch meant either. Let's see, the Sma is fighting on the Shulchan Aruch. He did fight the Beis Yosef interpretation, but what's worse we said here was he took the Shulchan Aruch, which is a clear quote of the Rambam, and he also hijacked it into the old world theory. That's what he said. So, and the Shach says, "Ve'ein devarav nechonim." I had to tell you, but you missed the boat completely. The Rambam, the Mechaber, the Shulchan Aruch are all like the Yerushan, so the Tur and all the sharp poskim. In other words, everybody, and also I'll show it to you, that's what the Beis Yosef said. And that's simply, if you read the words of the Rambam, that's what he says. The Beis Din elects from a talpon before Karka. That's it. Don't any other attempt to sideline or to interpret the Rush, or not the Rush, the Tur or the Shulchan Aruch or the Rambam in any other way is just improper. Okay? And if you start giving me these ideas, he's not around, so I'll show you both the Rambam and the Tur say clearly when the Mazik is dead, he's not around because he's dead, so the children who are in his place, the Rambam and the Tur both say get kark. According to you, the Beis Din should say, hey, the father could have, if he wasn't here, we would give him a tarpaulin. So these orphans should have the same right. So this whole idea that the mazik is not here, which is dochek in the text, and also I show you is not the din. There's no Beis Din's trying to figure out what the mazik would give. So let's go to this Rambam as he is. Now, before I explain to you, I quoted a lot of people who said that was the shita of the Rambam, the Nemuki Yosef, but now he says, before I explain to you why the Rambam took this position, I have to explain to you why everybody else made a mistake. Okay, and that's because they're forcing old world views into the Shulchan Aruch and the Tur. Okay, so now this is what he says. I think we got up to the Rambam, but we're going to just go very quickly. He brings the Rush, the Mordechai, and he claims they both said the mazik can choose to give karka or metaltalin equally. When we actually went to the Rush, we said, wait a minute, what are you talking about? The Rush said that was only in Balchov. Excuse me, not in Balchov, I'm sorry. Let's go again. The Rush quoted Rabbeinu Tam, and the Rabbeinu Tam held like Rav Huna, and Rav Huna says you can't give karka and metaltalin equally. You have to give o kesef or karka, and only if you don't have kesef and karka you can give metaltalin. So that was very hard to understand. And the Mordechai also said the same thing. in Rabbeinu Tam. So this is a problem in the Shach. I don't know how to resolve that issue. I'm just going to make a note here, and we're going to have to see if anyone else addresses this problem. But simply, the Rabbeinu Tam in Daf Tes, and also in the Mordechai and the Rush, holds like Rav Huna, so you can't take Karka with Metaltalin. Okay, when it came to the Nemuki Yosef, he spoke about the Meforshim. Okay, now, in that piece over there, which we didn't get into extensively, it does talk about Rabbeinu Tam's Shita, and then when it comes to Nezikin, it says that the Meforshim say you can choose either one, the Shar Meforshim, but Rambam says not so. So is this Meforshim Rabbeinu Tam or not requires our research. Then he quotes the Tosfos, Mocher Peros, and Reish Baba Kama. So now, in Hamocher, the Tosfos does say, in Nezikin, Afilu Islay, Zule, Motzi, Lasalak, B'mai the boy, to call Mili Meitavhu, the Rapapa, Rebbe. So there, we have a quote of Rabbeinu Tam saying that you can give what you want. Okay, metaltalin. Even if you have kesef, you can give metaltalin. All right. So there he does have a raya, and that's one of the places where we said runs contrary to what we say on Daf Tes and Rabbeinu Tam. And we notice it said margala bapume. That means Rabbeinu Tam used to say that this was the din. Okay, so this was his an oral tradition brought down by the Tosfot. Rabbeinu Tam used to say, he wrote something different. We have a problem. Okay, but at least here the Shach has a text that says that Rabbeinu Tam says you can kesef or whatever you want. Okay, here in our Gemara in Baba Kama, it was clear that Rabbeinu Tam quoted says in the Nezikin o kesef meitav ve'ilei slay afilu subin. If you don't have kesef meitav, you give subin. So we have little problems here in the Shach here. Okay, of course, in these two places, in one place he did quote what we have in our Gemara. Rabbeinu Tam holds you can give everything, and the other places it seems the Gemaras we have says Rabbeinu Tam is holding like Rav Huna. Okay. Now, this is an important part. This is what we were talking about the last time we met, and we have to get into it now a little slowly with a lot more gray matter being used. Okay, I'm just going to get rid of that for a second. Okay. Let's go to this line, Gimel. He says this is the other. That's why I made this chart for myself also. I mean, you have to. All these Gemaras are being floated around, so I want to know exactly who said what, where, and keep it in track. Because if I had a mind that could memorize all these different places and variations, it would be nice. But since I don't, I write it on a piece of paper, and we're going to keep track of it. And once we keep track about it, then we're just clear about what they're saying, because they're not trying to, pull a fast one on us. They're just, thinking quickly and deeply. So here. In Parshat Vav, we saw in Reish Amud Beis B'Shem Mashma, Rabbeinu Tam Meforish the Kor the Kamrin and B'Shas and Baba Kama, Rav Huna Omer Kesef Omeitav Dahainu HaRishus Biado Liten Yirtzeh. So what he said over here is that Rabbeinu Tam over there, we're going to look at it in 1 second, said clearly that what did Rav mean when he said O Kesef Omeitav? He meant that the reshus is biado to give whatever you want. Okay, so there we made our keyword is an equal or, right? Either or, but an equal or. So let's just look over there. And now we spoke about this at length. In Nezikin, he says, afilu islay zuzeh, even if the mazik has zuzeh, Matzi lisaluke ba'ara. He can get rid of his obligation to pay back the mazik with the land. Zuze or ara, kesiv or meitav are equal alternatives. According to who? According to Rav Huna da'oma beperek tes o meitav. Okay, so if you're holding like Rav Huna and you ask me what the nizak can pay back with if he has kesef and meitav, so Rav Huna says, according to Rabbeinu Tam, those are equal alternatives. You can either give kesef back or meitav karka. Correct? That's what he says up to here. Then all of a sudden we saw again something coming from left field here in the Tosfos. Shach didn't make it up. The Tosfos said it. Ula Rev Papa, Ula Rev Huna Bereda Reb Yeshua, call mile meitavhu. So we said, wait a minute, well, what is this chulent of the Rabbeinu Tam? He's quoting half apples and oranges. He quotes from Rev Huna, that you can get kesef and meitav, and then he runs to Rev Papa when it comes to kol mile meitavhu. And here he says, V'omer Rabbeinu Tam, sheyesh shlosh dinim. There's three laws for the Balchov, Nezikin, and the Socher. The Balchov, we know he can always demand if he has to pay, and he can't give anything else. And if he doesn't have kesef, so then he can give whatever he wants, metalton or karka, and you can't force him to go out and sell it. Okay? But here, when it comes to Nezikin, all of a sudden, he's quoted by the Tosfos with some sort of cholent, with some sort of interreaction of these two cases, and we spent our time trying to figure out what he meant. Okay? Simply, he starts saying that you can give land or metaltalin, according to Rav Huna, and then he jumps to Rav Papa, and he says, to Rav Papa, you can also give metaltalin. Well, what does that mean? That was that problem last time we met, right? Putting two disparate things together. So, I was thinking about it. Okay, it's always good to think, right? Matter of fact, if you don't, you're in trouble, especially when you're learning. Even if you're not learning, if you don't think, you're in trouble. But especially when you are learning, you must think. So how do we put this together? So I said, like, maybe let's first look at the elements that this Tosfos is talking about. There's two elements. Well, let's analyze it carefully. Reb Papa does not talk about kesef at all, right? His whole problem was the relationship of metaltalin and meitav. How do they work together? But he never spoke explicitly about kesef. Correct? You with me on that, right?
Yeah.
Good. Rev Huna explicitly spoke about kesef and land and, of course, metaltalin. So he spoke about all three elements. Reb Papa only spoke about two. So what did Reb Papa hold about kesef? Okay, so one possibility when I was thinking about this is maybe what Tosfos is telling us, that even Reb Papa agrees to Rev Huna as far as the choice that the mazik has between kesef and meitav. In other words, even though he didn't explicitly talk about kesef, he agrees with Rev Huna that there's no preference of kesef over karka. Okay? The only question, the only place he's arguing with Rev Huna is about metaltalin. Rev Huna says it's the poor stepsister, and Reb Papa says it's actually an equal partner. Okay? So maybe I thought that that's what Tosfos is trying to tell us. Tosfos is saying that as far as kesef and meitav, they're an equal or, right? O kesef or meitav. Rev Huna holds metaltal's poor stepsister. Reb Papa agrees with him when it comes to kesef and meitav, that they're an equal partner, but disagrees when it comes to metaltalin. He holds that's a equal partner. Okay, and therefore the halacha is, according to this Tosfos, that all three elements can be used equally, because according to this Tosfos, who quotes Reb Papa last, the halacha is like Reb Papa. Okay, unlike the other Tosfos that was quoted, that the halacha is like Reb Huna, this could be very well telling us that the halacha is Reb Papa, or it could also be a suffix. But whichever way it is, the Shach, what does he want from this? The Shach, first of all, he said that you can give kesef or metaltalin. So the way the Shach is learning, I believe, is the way we just put it together, which is saying that the Tosfos here pesaks like Reb Papa. When it comes to the relationship of metaltalin to the other two elements, he disagrees with Reb Huna that metaltalin is a poor stepsister, and he holds it's an equal partner. And he, of course, agrees with Reb Huna that it's an equal or. You either give kesef or you give metaltalin, or kesef or karka. That he agrees with. Kesef or karka is an equal or. That's the simple peshat, ozeh, ozeh. Nothing fancy, simple peshat, straightforward. The only thing is that we hold like Reb Papa when it comes to metaltalin. They were never really arguing about the relationship of Meitav and Kesef. They're equal. But when it comes to metaltalin, we don't hold like Rav Huna, according to this quote of Rabbeinu Tam. And that's what the Shach wants to bring to us from this Gemara. That according to Rabbeinu Tam, you have the mazik can give any one of the three equally. Okay? And that's really what he wants to bring out from this Tosfos. But of course, it took us a lot of time and thinking before we can put that together. I mean, you have to be in it to make that subtle relationship that they're both agreeing about Kesef and Itab, that they're equal partners, and the only machlokas is metaltalin an equal partner or not. That's the only thing that they're disagreeing with. So that imports the Kesef relationship that we saw in Rev Huna to Reb Papa, which doesn't exist there explicitly, correct? And makes it, Kesef is just equal to Meitav, and then just brings metaltalin as a third equal partner, okay? And that's how we solve it. Now remember, other people are going to read this Gemara differently of Rev Huna, and that's what we're going to be involved with. But that's how he wants to say Rabbeinu Tam is holding. So he has his proof here, that we're talking about an equal or. That means when it said ozeh, ozeh, it's standard language. We always like to start with the kiss, the simple first. Keep it simple, stupid. Don't do doches unless you're forced to. You know, if you're forced to, we'll accept that the interaction of the constellation of cases is forcing you. But if not, keep everything al pi peshat. What it says is what it means. So that's what the Shach said. He says, "V'chein kasu b'tosfos," in these places, u'beperek hapara, which we just read, reish amid beis, b'shem Rabbeinu Tam, mashma sham. Now he's using the word mashma. Mashma means that he had to put it together the way he put it together. Maybe other people put it together differently. Maybe as we first thought it was a suffix, we know to all the term, which is it's like hard enough to understand what he's saying and to explain the Tosfos any which way. But he says it's mashma there that watch Rabbeinu Tam Meforish Tehodo Kimna B'Shas in Baba Kama Daf Tes, when we spoke about Rav Huna Omer O Kesef O Meitav Dahainu Sharishus Biado Liten Eza Shiyirtza. Okay? Equal ors. You with me?
You mean the reshus to give either kesef or meitav?
Right. Now, if you want to know, if you want to know metaltalin, there you're going to have to know that the halacha is like Reb Papa when it comes to metaltalin, and he adds meitav into the equality. And there's how you get kesef, meitav, or metaltalin. Okay? Because remember, Reb Papa didn't talk about it. He didn't talk about it because it was obvious that it was an equal partner to all the other ones. The question is it equal to Subin or not? So Reb Papa had, well, Subin is equal to Meitav and certainly is equal to Kesef. How do we know? Because he imported Rav Huna. So you have to use, according to this way of handling the two nodes in the constellation here, you're going to have to say that Rav Huna and Rav Papa agree as far as equal ors of Kesef and Meitav, and they really only disagree where does Metaltalin come in. Okay?
Right.
But we have our equal or, and that's fine. That's what we call a point for the Rabbeinu Tam people, because at least the Peshat here in Kesef and Meitav is the standard communication of an Ozeh, right? Now here we also spoke about the Rambam. The Rambam now, he says, disagrees with the interpretation of Rav Huna. Aval das HaRambam, nirali leforesh, Rav Huna, he's going to say, O Kesef Meitav, and here's his chiddush. In order to get the Rambam, it gives a precedent of Metaltalin over Meitav, he's going to have to now reread Rav Huna. Because up to now, this was an equal O, or Kesef or Meitav, and if you don't have both of them, then only then do you give Metaltalin. Now we're going to have to get the element of Metaltalin somehow to precede Meitav, correct? In order that we take Metaltalin first and Meitav second, right? So if this is going to be the Rambam, we're going to have to read the Rambam into these words. How are we going to do that? We just said it's an equal or, and Meitav is second, and Metaltalin is second. How are we going to get Metaltalin in front of Meitav? How are we going to do it? So that's what we were working on also the last time we met. He tells us that this is not an equal or. This is I forgot what word we used, but
hierarchical.
Very good. Excellent. Thank you very much. These are important little key words for us because they represent a different meaning. It's a hierarchical or. When I said to you, you can pay cash, check, or money order, I said it's preferable with cash. If you don't have it, give me a check. And the last thing I want is a money order, okay? Or a credit card or whatever the other things. Okay, so it's a hierarchical or. So there is a thing called a hierarchical or, and the Rambam is learning this is a hierarchical or. Now he's going to have to prove whenever you do a dochek, right, in a language, the burden of proof is on you, right? In other words, you can squeeze the Rambam's halacha into these words, but since it's not the simple meaning of the words, you have to prove yourself, and he's going to do that too, both with other people who learn this way and this other Gemara over there that talks about niskaken. But that's why I'm trying to bring to you also the clarity of the moves here, you see. You just can't say what you want to say because it fits. If it doesn't fit nicely, then you're going to have to prove your point, and this definitely does not fit nicely. It's going to fit. He's going to show you how it fits, but it's going to fit with what we call a perish dachuk. You're going to have to say that this is not the standard or, this isn't a hierarchical or, which can be read into the words, but you need a proof for that, okay, which he's going to supply. I mean, he knows exactly what he's doing, and he knows what he has to do in order to prove his point, okay? So this is what we said. Wow. Okay. He said, it's a hierarchical or. What he meant was, you give kesef, your money or your life. You're either going to give kesef, and if you don't have kesef, then you give meitav. So Rav Nachman said to him, wait a minute, okay, that's nice, kesef first, and if you don't have it, give meitav, but we have a third pasuk that says yoshiv. What do you do with that? So Rav Huna says to him, oh, that's b'delay slay. B'delay slay. Now we have a hierarchical or. B'delay slay what? B'delay slay kesef. So in other words, you give kesef first, and if you don't have kesef, you have to give a meitav. What happens with metaltalin? That's if you don't have kesef. But of course, metaltalin is greater than meitav. That's obvious. First, it's kesef, and if you don't have kesef, then you give meitav. You are going to ask me about kesef and shavik kesef. Well, that comes right after kesef. It doesn't come after meitav. It just comes right because the pasuk made them together. So it comes right after kesef. So you have kesef first. If you don't have kesef, metaltalin, and not meitav, right? And that's the Rambam. It's not the Rambam. I'm sorry. He adds. I'm going to go back over this with you. I want you to get it. It's not the Rambam yet. He says, Uboho kesef. No, it's the Ramah. To get the Rambam, he has to add another element. Here it is. Uboho de kesef lo kaimelan karev huna. Ela filu subin meitav ninhu. This is called brilliant moves. I mean, this is something that, you have to have a lot of gray matter to do it, okay, and even more gray matter to prove it. But this is what he says. Let's go slowly. First of all, it's a hierarchical or kesef or meitav. If you don't have kesef, you can give meitav. Reb Nachman says to him, well, what about shavi kesef is equal to kesef? He says, no, that's also a hierarchical relationship. If you have kesef, you have to give kesef over metaltalin. Of course, if you have metaltalin, that's over meitav. That was two things. But I'm just telling you that metaltalin is a madrega less than kesef. So you have to give kesef first. If you don't have kesef, then metaltalin. If you don't have kesef and metaltalin, then you can give your meitav. Now, he says, however, the fact, that's all Rev Huna, right? That's Rev Huna. But we don't hold like Rev Huna when it comes to the relationship of kesef and metaltalin. What do we hold? That they're equal, right? So it comes out that whereas when Rev Nachman says, what do you do with subin, with metaltalin? Here Rev Huna says it's a madrega less, but we hold like Rev Papa that it's an equal to kesef. So again, let's play the situation, hierarchy. You have to give kesef. If you don't have it, meitav. What happens if you have metaltalin? Well, we hold like Reb Papa that metaltalin is equal to kesef. So you can give kesef and metaltalin equally. And if you don't have both kesef and metaltalin, then you can give meitav karka. There's the Rambam.
You can, so the Rambam
yes.
So he's equating kesef with metaltalin.
Yes.
They're putting them on, that's why we have that triangular shape, right? You have on top.
Exactly.
Kesef metaltalin on the bottom, and you have karka on the bottom.
Right. And that's the Rambam. Now, first of all, think about it. Also understand, or we have to point out, the Rambam never spoke about kesef again, right?
Mm-hmm.
He only said that you collect from the metaltalin first, and then you go to the karka. Well, what about kesef? Where does that fit into the constellation here? So according to the Shach, the Rambam holds that kesef is equal, shavi kesef is equal to kesef, like Reb Papa, and they're both better than karka. Okay, now I want you to think a little, okay? That was a...
So he combined it, I mean, he takes a piece from each, an element of Reb Papa. He takes the equality of kesef and metaltalin from Reb Papa, and the disequality of those two to karka from Reb Huna.
Yeah, say it again, please.
The equation of kesef and metaltalin he gets from Rav Papa,
right.
And then but he stops there with Rav Papa, and then he moves to Rav Huna to put karka on the bottom, below those two.
Right.
But not just
but
that.
I think
he also is using a strong. He's reading Rav Huna Rav Huna's or as a hierarchical one specifically.
Right.
Because you could read it otherwise. You could see it. Right.
Exactly. So the way he sets up, and I don't know if there's enough when you did it or not, because you took up this equation of metaltalin and kesef and then put it into Rav Huna, okay, he started the opposite way. He started with Rav Huna and created a triple hierarchy, in a sense, right? He said that kesef is greater than meitav, and Rav Nachman asked him, well, what do you do with yashiv? He said, well, that's the third element in the hierarchy that comes in after kesef, okay? And Reb Papa disagreed with that relationship. In other words, the Reb Papa disagreed with the relationship of kesef and metaltalin, okay? Now, the question is, what did Reb Papa hold about meitav? Did he agree with Reb Huna? According to the Rambam, as the Shach is saying it, did he agree with Reb Huna or not?
It seems not. Well,
exactly. Maybe yes.
Yes.
Maybe all the machlokus between. I mean, this stuff. When I say this over you, because I'm in it, and I'm thinking, there's like tremendous, like light opens. All of a sudden I see things of what he's really saying, okay? And I'm seeing a little bit of what he's doing. And it's the only way you can do it. You have to talk it out and you have to think about these things. But when you start thinking about it, it's like amazing what they're doing. Because I'll explain all that rhetoric in a second. But he says like this. What is the machlokes between, learning according to the Rambam, you have Rev Papa and Rev Huna. What are they really arguing? Where do they agree and where do they disagree? So he'll tell you both Rev Papa and Rev Huna agree that Meitav is at the bottom of the scale, under Kesef. They're only arguing about Shaveh Kesef. Rev Huna says it's second best after Kesef, and Rev Papa says it's equal to Kesef. Let's do that again, okay?
Wait, so how do we put that first? The first part is the problematic one because we generally read Rav Papa is equating everything, putting it
right. So now we have to go to a heliocentric world. Now you have to understand that we're changing our whole conceptual package here. We're like ripping up all the forget about this. You see the sun going around. Forget about it. We now have to come into a new relationship of the elements here. Okay, so let's go slowly. Let's say that Reb Papa and Reb Huna agree about the relationship of Kesef and Meitav, which means it's a hierarchical relationship, correct? You first must give Kesef, and then only then can you give Meitav. Let's say they both agree.
That's the part I get stuck in. How does Reb Papa hold that? How does that fit in with
because Reb Papa never told you about the relationship of Kesef to Karka, did he? So you're an old world theorist that thinks that Reb Papa holds Kesef is equal to Karka. And that's what Reb Huna is saying too, right? Right? Kesef, you think that Reb Papa and Reb Huna are saying an equal or, right?
Mm-hmm.
But become modern, know what I mean? Think differently. Both Reb Papa and Reb Huna hold that Kesef is greater than Karka. If you have Kesef, you have to give it. And you can only give Karka when you don't have Kesef. They both agree. What is Reb Papa and Reb Huna arguing about? The relationship of Shaveh Kesef. That's what Reb Nachman said. Reb Nachman raised his hand and he said, Reb Huna, where do you put Shaveh Kesef into your hierarchy? So Reb Huna said it's under Kesef, and Reb Papa disagreed and he said it's equal to Kesef.
It's equal to Kesef, and how?
Meaning, Reb Papa says you give.
Say that it's equal.
Well, go ahead. No, he doesn't. That's old world think.
Yeah.
The new world think is to put Reb Huna and Reb Papa together as far as the hierarchy between Kesef and Karka. Remember, Reb Papa never said anything about Kesef. You presume that Kesef was equal to Metaltalin, equal to Karka. That's what you presume, but he never spoke about Kesef. The truth is, says the Shach, that Rev Papa holds like Rev Huna when it comes to the relationship of Kesef to Karka. That there's a hierarchy, first Kesef and then Karka. That's a Chiddush, but we have to import the Kesef that we just learned in Rev Huna into Rev Papa. Rev Papa never spoke about Kesef. So if the relationship of Kesef and Karka is equal, we'll import that into Reb Papa. That's what everybody else does. But if the relationship, I'm telling you, is a hierarchical relation between Reb Huna, that Kesef is first and Meitav is second, then we have to import that into Reb Papa. Okay? Now the only problem is, where does Metaltalin fit into the hierarchy? So Reb Huna puts it under Kesef and Reb Papa makes it equal to Kesef.
Because just by
okay, let's talk about it. I mean,
Papa, I'm trying to remember how now I can't remember Rav Papa's language anymore because I'm trying to remember. As far as I remember, he equates Metaltalin with Karka, no, with Meitav. because that can't be the case then, based on what you're saying right now. He would have to say, or does he?
All he says, or what he does say,
Yeah.
we can go back to him,
Yeah.
is he says, Kol mile meitavu.
Meaning?
Chutz mi karka.
Chutz mi karka. Ah.
That's right. Karka is not called meitav, my friend. Came along the Torah and said, give meitav karka, so you'll get more customers. Now, did that make an equation that brought meitav karka equal to metaltalin, or it stayed as a poor stepsister? But it was acceptable. Let's go very slowly on this. This is like very subtle stuff.
Okay, but we're not talking about, when he says chutz mikarka, he's not talking about meitav there, right?
All karka. Oh, that's a very good question. According to this reeling, he's talking about all karka. He says, "Kol mile meitav hu chutz mi karka." I don't care if it's meitav, baininus, and ziberis, and he explains why. Because meitav, if you can't sell it here, you can sell it in another place. You can't move karka around. So by definition, all karka, even meitav, does not equal to the quality of metaltalin, which you're always going to get your money back, because you can get a buyer by just going to another town. But with karka, you run the risk that the nizak won't get his money back if no one's interested. So came along the Torah and said, but okay, we're going to be easier on the mazik and tell him he can also give karka, but only meitav karka, because that will up the ante, not to equal the quality of what metaltalin will give, but it'll be enough so that the nizak probably will get his stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But it's never going to equal metaltalin.
Right.
If the nizak wants metaltalin, you can get it, right? So now it's you see how subtle this is? I mean, this is very, wow. This is yeah, go ahead. Let's do it again.
So metaltalin falls just below. Okay, sorry.
No.
Meitav karka, meitav aretz,
right.
for Rav Papa, according to this reading, right, falls just below as a kind of consolation prize, just below metaltalin, and metaltalin is equivalent to kesef.
Yes.
For him, for Rav Papa?
Yes.
It's equivalent to kesef, okay? And so Rav Huna's point of contention is just on that point.
Exactly.
Saying, fine, we agree metaltalin falls below, both of us agree, but... No,
we agree meitav.
Sorry, the karka.
Yes.
We agree that karka falls below, including
right.
meitav
right.
falls below. And our only bone of contention here is that I say that actually metaltalin is below kesef.
Right.
Whereas you would say that they're equivalent.
Right.
Okay, wait. So and now the Rambam would be following Rav Papa.
Exactly.
Following Rav Papa, right?
Exactly.
Okay. But he needed, or that not just he, but that presentation, that argument. I mean, the reading of Rav Papa had to be read that way with Rav Huna.
Exactly.
Rav Huna was indispensable in order to articulate Rav Papa's position.
Exactly.
Because we would have thought, okay.
Exactly. If you don't read Rav Huna this way, then you would not say that Rav Papa and Rav Huna are being that meitav is less than kesef. You can't. You don't have hierarchy, but chalal, and that's really how Rabbeinu Tam was reading, and everyone else was reading Rabbeinu Tam, and they followed hook, line, and sinker this easy way to read the Gemara, because that's simply what it says, an equal or. But if you think it too deep, if you think of what the Rambam was thinking about when he wrote his halacha, he's not a simple person.
Right.
Now you have to prove, and he's going to do that you have to now bring a raya to this position. You can't just leave it alone. You're going to have to give more evidence that this reading, which is very technically correct, is actually the Rambam's position. So he's going to bring another Gemara in to do that. First, he's going to bring a couple of people that say it. It's going to be very interesting. But don't think I'm doing this. You're going to read Rabbeinu Hanayel in a second. I'll show you he's doing it too. But and then he's going to bring another Gemara that uses the word niskakin and read that Gemara that way also, and force the Gemara that way. But the beauty of this, and Baruch Hashem was so good to do this. I mean, this was, is that what we're seeing is that they're talking about the relationship of the different cases.
Right.
Okay, and how you understand those cases, the push and pulls, is how you're going to come out to the halacha. Okay, so that's what, at this stage, Baruch Hashem, we accomplished. And by the way, I mentioned last time, the Nachlas David is dumbfounded by this shach over here and how he reads Rav Huna. And a lot of people are going, he can't make any sense out of it. He thinks it's someone made a typo here. He couldn't figure this out.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, we're just saying that it's feasible. We're not saying...
No, he doesn't even have... He's going to show us that he says he can't make even a reading out of it. Because really, what I just, did with you took... I mean, I'm not saying that I'm not so, but it took a lot of thinking here.
Right.
To put them again, because it's a new world, it's really a heliocentric world. So you have to rethink everything. You have to throw away your premises, throw away your old way of looking at things. You have to create this hierarchical or, which is very unusual. Then you have to have Reb Papa agreeing with Rav Huna on the hierarchical or, and only arguing where metaltalin fits in. Okay, that was a lot. That's a lot to do. But that's exactly, I'll show you. That's exactly what he did. Okay, and that's why it makes a lot of sense. But I'm saying a lot of people have a problem with this piece of shach. It's in no way. He only says a few words. He says the kesef when you don't have metaltalin, and when you do have metaltalin, you give metaltalin over meitav. My friend, who talked about metaltalin in Rav Huna, right? Rav Huna said, "Oh, kesef or meitav." Right? He didn't say anything about metaltalin, whether the hierarchical relationship, and that's what Rashi learns. Rashi learns, oh, kesef or karka, equally, it's an equal or, and when you don't have both, then you give metaltalin. So metaltalin at the bottom. Where do you see the Rambam in all this? So that's exactly what we did. We said, no, this is a hierarchy. That's the chiddush. The chiddush is to see that he's reading the or as a hierarchical or. That's a big chiddush. And that's chiddush number one in Rav Huna. There's a hierarchical or between kesef and karka. The other chiddush is to say that Reb Papa is not arguing about that hierarchy. He agrees that kesef is greater than meitav of karka. And his only dispute with Rav Huna is about metaltalin. He says metaltalin is equal to kesef, and the Rambam says and Rav Huna says metaltalin is slightly less than kesef. And that's their machlokus. But as far as the hierarchy, the hierarchical relationship between kesef and meitav, that they agree. And they only disagree on that one point. Okay. Now, if you read this way, by the way, just as another interesting light that comes out of this, you'll also explain the Ramah. Because you remember what the Ramah said? He had a triple hierarchy. He had kesef, metaltalin, and then meitav. By reading this way, we now have a source for the Ramah with a hey.
Saying he follows Rav Huna.
Exactly. He's pure Rav Huna, which is the triple hierarchy. The Rambam follows Reb Papa in that machlokus and holds there's only a double hierarchy between kesef and meitav, and then the shavik kesef is to the kesef.
Right.
So what he did here beautifully as a hashlacha, as a consequence of this reading, is also given us the reading of the Ramah, and made the machlokus between the Ramah and the Rambam, whether the halacha is like Rav Huna or like Reb Papa.
Wow.
Wow. And he did that with around 12 words. Wow. Equals MC. Yeah, go ahead.
It's amazing, of course, that the Rambam did it. It's amazing that the Shach could see it. And it's amazing that you could bring it out of the shop.
Right. And it's also amazing that you understand it. That's also nice. I mean, no, the whole thing is quite amazing. And this is only the beginning. He's going to have to prove it. I mean, he's not done because but look what he accomplished. He accomplished explaining the Ramah and the Rambam. But he's going to run into danger because if this explanation of Rav Huna that we just said is not how the Nemuki Yosef learned the Ramah. The Nemuki Yosef only said in Svar, since already Rav Papa held that everything that was more like Kesev has a precedent. So there's the Ramah got his halacha from Rev Papa, right? Because Rav Papa said, "Kol mili meitav," if it's not, and so he held that Kesev was first, and then second was metaltal, and then third was karka. That's how the Nemuki Yosef explained. But he's going to tell the Nemuki Yosef that you cannot produce. In other words, you could say there's a hierarchy there in Svara that since Kesev is the best, it belongs to be first, but you have no proof of it. It's just worse. You know what I'm saying? In other words, you could say in Svara, well, since everything is looked at in terms of Kesev, so obviously Kesev is the first choice. But that's just what you're saying. You have no proof to it. So what the Shach accomplished here is by reading Rav Huna, now you have a source to say that Kesev is greater than Karka. And then you could say the machlokus between Rav Huna and Rav Papa is only where metaltalman fits in. And then you have a solid source, at least in text. Where the other way, you're just saying in Svara, but in Rav Papa, really Rav Huna holds old world old world Svaras, that Kesev is equal to Meitav and the poor steps. And Rav Papa over there is making in Svara a three-way hierarchy. That's what the Ramah says, but you have no proof that that's what Rav Papa says. You just have a Svara that since everything is equal to Kesev, Kesev is the best. But there's no proof. But what the Shach accomplished now is a proof that there is a hierarchy. By reading the hierarchy into Rav Huna and having them disagree with Shava Kesev, he created a beautiful now machlokus between the Ramah with a Hey, who holds like Rav Huna, a triple hierarchy, and the Rambam who holds like Rav Papa, which is only a double hierarchy.
How is it not also a matter of svara, a different svara, obviously, to just assume that there's a hierarchy?
Okay, very good. Excellent. Excellent. How do we know there's a hierarchy in Rav Papa? Yeah. He's going to now prove that point by bringing other people who say it. In Rav Huna, I'm sorry, not in Rav Papa, in Rav Huna. Yeah. Now he's going to have to prove, that's his work now. He does it two ways. He's going to bring other people who say it, and he's going to bring another Gemara, which he's going to say the only way you can read this Gemara is with hierarchy. And then you'll understand the Rambam, because that Gemara is going to use the word niskaken. He goes through Google, he finds the word niskaken. It's right there. It talks about Yashiv, and he shows you the only way you can read that Gemara is the way I explained it. Okay? And he'll have to then also fight the old world people. You know what I mean? He's going to say the Rambam is a new world person. But that's the excitement that we're going to, where we're going right now. Okay, so let's read a little more inside since we got now the setup, and let's go a little further. Okay, gewaltig. Now he says like this. I'm just going to do an inserted page here because I like the whole text on page. It's just easier to look at. Okay, this is the piece we're going to do now. Okay, so let's look at this piece carefully now. He says, this, what I just said and explained at the hierarchy of Rav Huna, you'll find in a sefer called the Baal HaTrumos. Okay, Baal HaTrumos, I gave dates there, I wrote them down before, I'm not going to look at it. He's a book in his library, which means he's a precedent to him. Now, what does the Baal HaTrumos say? First, I'm going to look at what he says, and then we can maybe look at the Baal HaTrumos. Look what he says here. Umavur, the name of the book was called Sefer HaTrumos, and he's the author of it. Umavur Sham Lehedja, it's explained there explicitly. Gam ken das Rabbeinu Hananel. Now, Rabbeinu Hananel, remember in our This is a very important move. I'm sorry. Okay, let's go back here. Let's go here, and let's go here, and let's go here. Let's go here. Okay. No. Okay, we have to just do one other little bit of here. Let's go here, and let's go here, and let's go here to our Rishonim page, which was D, level D. Okay, let's put that all together and go to D. No, sorry about that. Okay, this is what I did. It's just, you know. Now we said that the Gaonim, the great yeshivas in Bavel, lasted till 1000 in the Common Era, right? And then tumult over there with the Goyim, and also a move of the Jewish people into the Western world in North Africa. Okay, slowly there's a decline in Bavel of the yeshivas, and the Torah and the Jewish people in general move into North Africa and into Europe. Okay, and there we have the link people in Ashkenaz. The Gaonim is Rabbeinu Ashkenazim. He's from Germany, and the link to the Sfarim is Reb Hananel. Okay, not exactly where he was, but he's North Africa, I believe. From Rabbeinu Hananel, the Rif, the Rimagash is a student of the Rif. The Rif learns the Risis Masara from Rimagash, and that's the Rambam. So he's lining up here. So if I can show you, says the Shach, and he doesn't say these words, this is all background. If I can show you that Rabbeinu Hananel reads Reb Huna the way I'm saying, then I've won a tremendous point, because the Rambam is following tradition here. Okay, he's following his line of tradition. Okay, and all you other guys are again old world thinkers, or just, you know, you just read the way Ashkenazim read, but you just don't understand what real Peshat is, because you just, you know, just colored what Rashi says, what Rambam says, what Rabbeinu Tam says, and, you know, all those people. So that's why it's very important to him now, if whenever you say Chiddush in language, especially this Chiddush, which is counterintuitive, to say that there's a hierarchical or, you better start bringing support to that argument. And there's no better support than you can bring the Reb Hanan himself. That would be a great support. So let's see what he does here. Okay. 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 So he says like this. V'chein muchach lehedya midivrei the Balei Trumos. Mavorasham, the Balei Trumos brings Rabbeinu Hananel. Shevi sham hach Rav Huna u'may deshak levatara hasam v'kasiv. Well, first let's look at Rabbeinu Hananel himself, okay? We have him right on our page. Okay, second, I went a little, you know, eventually I'll be more subtle with all the links here, but okay, let's see if I can go back. Okay, let me go to one other thing here. And open and go to our famous Gemara. Okay. Oops, what happened here? Oh, I did it the wrong way. Sorry for all these technical things, but yeah, I'm looking for, so that's why I have to do it here. The PDF, look at all these PDFs here. There we go. Okay. The wrong PDF. Okay, here is not a digitized view, but the actual page of the Gemara, right? Rav Huna Omer O Kesef O Meitav, a65 Rav Nachman, L'Rav Huma, Rav Nachman asks Rav Huna Kasha, Yoshiv Rav Shav Kesef Afil Subin. Rav Huna answers, Chacham Maya Skina B'Delei Slay. So Rav Nachman says, wait a minute. Delay slay, it's Peshita, because everyone has to, you take what you can get. No, Mao the same, Amrinan lay Ziparach V'Zavin, I say Kesef, Mashmalan, you don't have to. Those are the few words that we're now analyzing, okay? And we just said what that meant was that Rav Huna held Kesef, hierarchy. If you don't have Kesef, then Meitav. Rav Nachman said to him, wait a minute, what about Shavik Kesef? He says that's a Madrega less than Kesef. Okay? The Rambam doesn't hold like Rav Huna, he holds like Rav Papa, that is an equal to Kesef, but he does hold the Arik. Okay, now he wants to bring a proof from Rav Hananel. Okay, so here's Rav Hananel on our page of Gemara. He is written there. Okay, on the side, he didn't get top billing with Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam, but he's there. There he is. So let's see what he says, and let's see what the Shach is from him. Okay, here he is. Can you see that?
Not yet. Oh.
Okay, it takes a little time. I did a lot of flipping. Okay.
Oh, that's good.
Now, Reb Hananel is like the Rif. Is that clear? That's pretty clear now. I mean, it's a little bit broken up. But, okay. The kids
Reb Hananel appears on. Does he appear on the side of the Gemara page?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, he appears
right
on the side.
Outside. Okay.
On the outside, yeah. That's where he appears. Okay. Now he's like the Rif in the sense that he's a running commentary on the Gemara. Okay. None of this Rambam stuff where we're rewriting the whole kit and caboodle. Okay. So he appears there just like standard. Everybody writes their notes on the side, explanation. Okay. So this is how he reads our Gemara. Let's see what he says here. You could read a little. Rav Huna Omer.
I see. Rav Huna Omer. Rav Papa, Rav celebrate Rav Shua. What does that mean? Oh yeah, and he fall.
This, that. Now remember, there was this whole big problem here. Was Rav Huna arguing with Rav Papa and Rav Huna Rav Shua, right? So Rabbeinu Hananel holds that they're arguing. Rav Huna is arguing with Rav Papa and Rav Huna Rav Shua. Okay. So it says how the Amru, yeah, means that about what they Rav Huna now is on the floor, and he says, this, that Rav Papa and Rav Huna Berei Yeshua said. What did they say?
Kol mile meitav, like everything counts as meitav.
What does he say? Right. Rav Huna says it's not necessary. You're wrong. What is called meitav?
O kesef, o meitav. Rather, he said this is Rav Huna's quote here is what he says. O kesef, o meitav.
Stop.
So that's interesting. That's already a statement there.
In other words, go ahead, please.
Meitav, I guess he's saying, up until this point, that O kesef o meitav means that kesef is not meitav, right? That's what he means by that. He says kol mila meitavhu. He says that's not a good reading because Rav Huna says o kesef o meitav. So how can you say kol mila meitavhu? There wouldn't be an either or to choose from if everything was meitavhu. Obviously, kesef is not meitav. That's what he's saying, right?
This is we're going to have to now, redo the whole relationship, but let's see if we can do it carefully. Also, this is in brackets, but I think it belongs. But anyway, the point is, let's go again. What did Rev Papa say? He said, Kol mile meitavhu. The question is, and this is the first question you ever asked when we studied him, what is mile? Right? That's the first question you asked me. It's a great question. It's been bothering a lot of people for around 2,000 years here, whatever. Okay, great, But he says, so this is how the Rabbeinu Chananel is. What did Reb Papa made a statement that Kol Mile Meitav, right? So Rav Huna said it's Lab Dafka. Kol Mile is not Meitav. The only Mile that's Meitav is Kesev and Meitav, meaning Meitav Karka. Mashma that Reb Papa held Kesev and Meitav and Metalton were all equal, according to this reading. And what Rav Huna is coming to say is, Reb Papa, you got it wrong. There's only two things that are called Meitav, and that's Kesev and Meitav Karka. But Talmud not. Okay? So the two things that are called Meitav is Kesev and Meitav Karka. Unlike you, Reb Papa, that wants to now shove in Metaltalin. So now, Osave Alei Rav Nachman, right? Rav Nachman asks him a kasha. He says, wait a minute, Rav Huna. How can you say there's only two things that's Meitav, Kesev and Meitav Karka? What about Yashiv? That's Labashava Kesev. That also should be Meitav, right?
Why? Because because of the Rumia. I mean, that's the whole point of the Rumia.
Or
it's brought in as an equivalent, as something to compete with Meitav, Karka.
Maybe, now that I'm just reading it again, maybe what he's asking is, because it says Osve, Osve means he's asking a kasha. He's saying, how could you say that the only two things are Kesev and Meitav? Because, in a certain way, this is like a bias problem. He says, because once you say Kesev, then you're going to have to say Shavik Kesev, right? Yeah. So now it's going to, now Meitav is also Shavik Kesev, because Shavik Kesev is equal to Kesev. So that's a kasha. According to you, Meitav is only Kesev and Meitav, right? But wait a minute. If Shavik Kesev is equal to Kesev, so then Shavik Kesev should be Meitav also. That's a kasha, right? Uparik. What is Rav Huna? Hacha b'mayaskinan. What is the case where we are talking about? B'delslei. When you don't have it, another one of these in. This is one of the biggest problem is, what do they call it? An imprecise pronoun. I feel this, but it's something. I've got just my English fell out of the head. An undefined pronoun, right? We're running into this all the time. Sadehu. There's all these hises here that are ambivalent, or we don't know exactly what they are. So anyway, here he says, again, the favorite phrase, what does that mean? Okay. Does it mean when you don't have both, or when you just don't have kesef? So let's read it the way the Shach is reading it, and then we'll see his raya from what goes below. The Shach will tell you, look, this is what Rav Huna is. This is the Shach of Atar in the Gemara, according to Rav Huna. It says Rav Chananel. Rav Huna said there's only two things that are called Meitav. That's called Kesev and Meitav Karka. Came along Rav Nachman and said, you can't say that, because we have another pasuk that says Yoshiv. So Yoshiv is equal to Kesef, and therefore it wants to have Shavik Kesef, so it has to be Meitav also. So he says, no, what am I talking about when I said that the two things were Meitav? That's both Kesef and Karka are Meitav. But when you don't have Kesef, that's also called Meitav, but it's only Meitav when you don't have Kesef.
It's a very tight reading.
Right, because really, if in the pasuk the Shavik Kesef is equal to Kesef in the pasuk, right?
Right, exactly. On the one hand, Shavik Kesef is equal to Kesef on the one hand from the one pasuk, and on the other hand, the whole point, it seems, when Rav Huna makes the first statement, Kesef o Meitav, so it's not redundant, but he's just repeating Meitav. Rav Papa is saying Kol Mila Meitav. Everything is Meitav. So right. He says, well, I grant you that Meitav is Meitav. Obviously, that's obvious. Right. Meitav is Meitav. There's no Chiddush there. But O Kesef o Meitav. So Kesef is the Chiddush. Wow. So then Rav Nachman is only questioning him on the Chiddush, on the Kesef. Everybody agrees. That
if you weren't a few thousand miles away, I'd kiss you. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Wow, wow, wow. That's light. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Right. Kesef was the Chiddush. Of course, Meitav is Meitav. It says Meitav Karka, but Chiddush is at Kesef. So he says, if Kesef is Meitav, so what do you do with the Shavik Kesef? It's equal to Kesef. He says, no, that's B'dalei like Kesef. Okay, so if you don't have Kesef, V'omerle Rav Nachman B'dalei, you don't have Kesef, certainly there's no Chiddush in that. He says, no, it is a Chiddush because you might think, he says Peshita. Why is it Peshita? I'm sorry, the Rabbeinu Hanan adds another few words. Why is it Peshita? Rav Nachman asks him, why is it so simple that if you don't have Kesef, you should take Shavik Kesef? Because the Amrei Inche, people say, Mimaire l'rishusecho pe'eri efra. From a person who gives you money, even take subin. That's what it means. That we learned in this other Gemara in Daf Mem Vav. People says it's a common expression. We went through this also last time. It's a common expression that when someone owes you money, you better take whatever you can get, even subin. Right? So you might think, we said, that, that's why it's Peshita. If Kesef, if you don't have Kesef, and the din is you should take subin, right? That's Peshita, says Rav Nachman, because it's a common phrase. Everybody knows that. That's what people say in the street, What are you not going to, you're going to tell the guy that owes you money to go sell his subin and you'll never get your money back. Don't be stupid. When someone owes you money, grab what you can get if he doesn't have it, right? So he says, it's Peshita. The Torah doesn't have to tell me that. That's common knowledge. Remember our learning now in Darkei Gemara that the Svara Chitzona has to be the opposite of the Chiddush Torah. And here Rav Nachman is saying, wait a minute, that's not a Chiddush Torah. That if you don't have Kesef, you should take metaltal, and that's obvious. Because people say it in the street, take what you can get. What does Rav Huna answer him? Va'omele Rav Huna, Mahu the same, not so fast. What would you have thought? What's the Svara Chitzona? Amrina le'zir tarch v'zavin, ba'asele, kamash malan below. No, you might think that the Torah put a chiyuv on the mazik to go sell his subin and bring him money. Why would the Torah do that? And don't you know you're supposed to grab what you can get? No, when the Torah makes a mitzvah on a person, then the nizak will be paid. If it was, if someone owes you money, grab it without the Torah. So you're right. That's obvious. You should grab what you can get. But maybe you might have thought that the Torah put a mitzvah on the mazik to go sell the subin and give it there. He's going to do it because the Torah says so. Kamash Malan. No. The Chiddush is the Torah rejects that side of that possibility and goes to the simple Svara Chitzona. Remember what we said? When there's a suffix in the Svar Chitzona, the Torah has to decide which way to go. So Reb Nachman creates a suffix in the Svar Chitzona. Do you do what people say, which is greater you can get, or do we say that the Torah forces the mazik to sell it, and therefore you'll still end up getting what you'll get because the mazik will have a mitzvah? So do we say the Torah can supersede the teva of human psychology or not? So you might think the Torah would supersede human psychology, let the mazik go out and sell it, and since it's a mitzvah, he'll have to do it, and the nizik will get his money. Kamashma, no, the Torah accepts that people, when it comes to money, are just people, and the nizak won't get his money. So it says, you know what? Yes, he can give you subin. Did you get all that I said?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, good. We spoke about it last week, too. Go ahead.
Yeah, but it's saying that the Torah really ratifies what people say. I mean, the Torah agrees with common sense, but for a different reason, no? Or is it just ratifying it? You see what I'm saying? Is it just
I don't know what the word ratify actually means.
I mean, it's just giving the askama. It's just saying, yes, common sense is right.
Why? Because you might have thought against common sense. You might have thought that the Torah goes there, that the mazik must go out and sell it. And then the nizak loses money because the mazik has a mitzvah to do it. The answer is the Torah is not giving a mitzvah to the mazik. That's the chiddush. That it's really says common sense is stronger than any mitzvah that it imposes. You hear what I'm saying there?
Yeah.
In other words, we said like this: the Torah has to always come against the Svar Chitzona. If the Svar Chitzona is the same, so then why did the Torah have to write what it had to write? So we always have to produce a suffix in the Svar Chitzona. In other words, it's a suffix that the Torah went with the Svar Chitzona or not with the Svar Chitzona. So where is that suffix? The suffix is, on one hand, human nature is not to pay the debts. On the other hand, you might think that the Torah, when it puts a mitzvah on a person, will give that person the ability to supersede his tithas, and the nizak will get his money. Kamashmal. So now I have a suffix. Did the Torah say, I'm going to force them, because really he should be the guy kesef, and the Torah says, I'm going to force him with the mitzvah, and he'll go against his nature, or the Torah understands the nature of human beings that it's not going to work. So if the nizak wants his money, we better go with Svar Chitzona. The answer is, that's the chiddush. That we go with Svar Chitzona in this case. Okay? And that only really, you could see that depth only if you did Darkei Gemara. Understand? You don't see it. You just don't see it without that. With Darkei Gemara, then it becomes clear that you have to set up a situation that the Torah is not repeating the Svar Chitzona. So you always have to say that there's a shikul there. And you have to create a shikul. That's what the Rabbeinu Hananel created, a shikul. On one hand, you have the nature, human psychology. The other hand, you have the level that a person can attain with a mitzvah. But in this case, the Torah said we better go with the Svar Chitzona, because when it comes to money, we want to make sure the nizak gets his money, and we can't be too certain that everyone's going to be a tzaddik and do what the Torah says. He'll delay 2 days, 5 days, 6 days. He'll eventually do the mitzvah, but he won't. The nizak is going to lose out. But anyway, that's what he says. Now, look, here's the place that the shach now, because what we said up to now, we have to go over it again, really, because we don't see a hierarchy here yet, right? All we see here is that Rev Huna said to Reb Papa that the only two things that are meitav is kesef and meitav karka. That's what's called meitav. Now we don't see any hierarchy there. It could be an equality. And then Reb Nachman said, wait a minute. Once you say the shavik kesef is equal to kesef, so then it's also meitav. Okay. So that's only if you don't have kesef. So really, we could learn this whole Gemara like the old world, like old think, like everything. Really, that's old Rev. But here in this yellow is where the shach now is going to bring his halacha. Look what he says. Now you read these words here. Mehor.
Shall I read?
Yeah, you read, please.
Should we do? Okay, so I don't know.
No.
Okay,
Oh yeah, which you don't know what's happening. Mehor. From this that we just learned. Okay, Mehor. From this that we just learned. Sheminan.
Mehor Sheminan. So from this that we learn, we get by, I guess, by implication. Sheminan usually means some type of implication, right? Some
Correct.
Logical.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So from this we get the implication. The lo misalkinan bevalcho be'ara be'ara. So from this we get by implication that we don't send away or satisfy, I guess, the balcho. We don't pay off the creditor with land.
Okay, of course, Shuma with an evaluation of land. Okay, you always have to evaluate and based on how much things worth. Ella, what do we do? Except in the case.
Ella hecha dekayim lan the leisle lelave lelove. Sorry, leisle lelove maos lemefaria. So it's only in the case that the debtor does not have money. So that would be the only situation in which we pay off the creditor with land. Right.
And here's the key point. We're going to read the rest of it. Wait a minute. Everyone's going to say, wait a minute. What's called Mandakar Shmei. Who talked about Lova here? We're talking about Nezikin in Reb Huna.
He's getting this by implication. That's what he's right. There has to be some kind of implication.
Exactly. But where do you see a logical implication? What is that magic link between what we just spoke about here in Nezikin and the case of Malvin Lova? It's true. The Rabbeinu Hananel is now bringing a, what do we call it? An inference. He's inferring from the case of Nezikin, the case of Balchov. Number one. That's step number one. Number two, he's telling us a law in Balchov. What's the law in Balchov he's telling us?
He's saying that we only pay with karka if he doesn't have money.
Right.
It seems to follow the sheet of Rav Huna.
Oh, slowly.
That Rav Huna's.
This is what this is going to be the big chiddush. Read the next few lines. Ella, Islay.
Which Ella here are we reading?
This right here. Oh, you don't see my chart here?
Aval. Aval.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's not Ella. Aval. I'm sorry.
Lemifre. Yeah.
To pay. So literally, right. We hear from this that the Baal Chov, right? We don't get rid of the Baal Chov with land, except where he doesn't have, where the loaner doesn't have money to pay, right? But if this loaner has money to pay, about islay mouse, if the borrower has money to pay, mischayvin lemifre. We obligate him to pay with money.
We obligate him to pay.
Oh, lizune, or to sell his property. Va'isele mouse. And to bring money.
Sell his property.
Yeah. Is that right? If he has money, excuse me. Let's go again. About Islay Mouse, if he has money, he's obligated to pay with money or to go out and sell his property and money.
Right? It's metaltalin, in other words. This is with a metaltalin.
No. This is karka we're talking about. Again, mehor sheminin the lo misalkin labalcho va'ara b'shuma ella heich de kamlan the leis lalova mouse lemifra. The only two variables here is land and money. The two variables. So we kesef and metav karka. And The Rebbeinu Hananel says from here we see that in the case of a lova, the only time that we let him pay with karka is if he has no money. But if he has money, he either has to give the money or he has to cash in the karka and give the money to the lova. Okay?
But what is that? I don't understand that last part. What does it mean, or cash in the karka?
He has to go sell his karka.
If he has the money.
If he has money, yeah. He only has two choices.
If he has money, he can pay with money.
He must pay with money, or if he wants to pay with his karka, then he has to go sell the karka and give money. We don't tell. He cannot give the karka to the creditor. He can't. He has to give him cash. No. Well, go ahead, please. I'm sorry.
I'm not following the reasoning here. It's saying there's A and B here. On the one hand, you either pay with money, or if you don't have money, you pay with karka. On the other hand,
no, you don't pay with karka. You have to sell your karka and give money. In other words, if you want to give him your karka, you go sell it yourself. Let's read it again. Aval ileisle maus. If he doesn't have money, this guy has no money, no cash, right? So then he must pay. Excuse me, let's read it again. That's not right. Let's read the whole thing. From here we hear the lo misalkin labalchov ba'ara b'shuma elaich de kamlan de leisle lelova maus. The only time he can use karka is if he has no money at all to pay. Aval I isle maus, but whenever he has money, then he's mechayvin leila mifra, o lezvune hu ulasuye maus. He either has to pay with the money that he has, or he can go out and sell his own land and bring money to the. But he cannot give, once he has money, he cannot give karka to the creditor.
He either has to going out to sell his karka at the end. I don't understand.
I understand what's confusing you. Yeah, it's the part that's confusing. He's only saying he can't give the land. If he wants to get rid of his land, let him sell it and turn it into cash.
But isn't that the possibility that is being precisely allowed in the first part?
No. He can either pay real cash money. If he doesn't want to use up his cash money, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't want to use up his cash money, right? So he cannot just give the land to the creditor. If you want to keep your money, Mr. Mazik, right? You want to keep your money. For some reason, you're investing it in some stock. Whatever. You want to keep your money. I don't know why. You have a bill to pay. So you can't give your land to the creditor. You have to go out, buy your land, and give him money. You want to keep your money on the side, fine. But in the end of the day, the creditor has to end up with money in his hand. Either the money that you have or the conversion of the land into money. In other words, look, if you want to,
why doesn't it oblige him in the first half though? Why doesn't it say? See, because it says in that first part it says the only situation in which will allow you to pay with karka is if you don't have money. So why doesn't he at that point say, well, you know what, go sell your karka? Why? You see what I'm saying? Why is he making that allowance to begin with and then retracting it in the second part? He's saying, like, I understand the general gist of it, but there's one kink in there, which is saying, we don't pay with karka except if you don't have money. So, okay, so there's a situation in which you can pay with karka, I don't have money. And then in the second situation, he's saying, you're going to pay with money, and even if you have to sell your karka. Well, wait a minute.
No, let's go again. There's two cases. There's a case where he has no money,
yeah,
and a case where he does have money.
Maybe he has some money.
No, he has. No, let's say he even has enough money. But there's two cases. One case he only has karka and money. The other case he has money and karka. Two cases.
I see. And he wants to hold on to his money in the second case.
Exactly. He wants to hold on to his money. Case.
I get it. Okay, I got it. Okay, now I got it.
So you want to hold on to your money, fine. But you can't give him karka. You have to go out and sell it and give him money.
I said it. Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, now how is he getting this by inference from Rav Huna?
He says he's getting it from Rav Huna.
Yeah, by inference.
Yeah.
Because I see. So in other words, this is the hierarchy right here. This is it. He's saying that the way he's reading Rav Huna is he's saying, look, we don't pay with karka, l'chadchila. L'chadchila we pay with kesef. Whatever, the situation, whenever we can pay with kesef, we pay with kesef. And only in the worst possible scenario, then you're allowed to pay with karka, so karka second best. And he's deriving this from Rav Huna.
QED. That's exactly what the Shach says. The Shach says, look, don't argue with me. You think I'm crazy reading Rav Huna this way. Now you're going to have to fight Rabbi Hananel, because he's learning Balchov from this case of Rav Huna, and he's learning that Balchov you have to read Kesef first, and then only after that Meitav. How did he get it from Rav Huna? There's only one way he got it from Rav Huna, holding a hierarchical law. My case is rested.
How? Okay, let me ask. How do we know that? How did Rav Huna derive it? I mean, Shaminan. What does that mean, Shaminan? What is that?
Oh, this is Rav Hananel.
How does that? Sorry, Rav Hananel. How does Rav Hananel see that inference operate? How does he infer that?
Excellent question. The answer is we don't know, but he did.
Okay. But he did. Okay.
So don't fight me when I tell you that this is what's happening. Oh, come on, it can't mean that. It has to be an equivocal or. I mean, it has to be an equal or. Come on. Well, if you think I'm out to lunch, then you're going to have to fight Rebbe Hananel. Oh, you'll ask me, how did Rebbe Hananel learn? I said, first of all, he said it, right? He said it. Yeah. Okay. Now we got to explain why he said it. That's another question. Now I'm going to explain that to you too. But I got a Rebbe Hananel that learns hierarchy from Rav Huna. Must be that Rav Huna's talking about hierarchy.
Mm-hmm. Has to come out of his argument with her. I mean, the whole this does the one stance I like that it takes here is that it's saying Rav Huna is definitely arguing with Rav Papa, and he's picking on that equation that Rav Papa makes, that everything is made of.
Right.
Somehow has to fall back on that.
Right. But we don't understand, so that's and this is not only us. Many scholars that have read this. And even he's going to say the Gedulei Truma is going to say, Rav Hananel, with all your covered, I don't know what you're talking about. Of course, you can say it, but how could you say such a thing? Where did you get hierarchy from Rav Huna? I see equality. Rashi says equality. Rabbeinu Tam says equality. Where did you get hierarchy? So the Shach says, he says it. Don't run away again. The Shach is a very powerful, that's why I call him the Gever. He says, don't run away from it. He said it. Now you have a problem why he said it? Okay, let's think about it. Let's try to find out why. But don't start, because it doesn't fit into your, heliocentric world, the geocentric world, you know what I mean? Don't tell me it's not there. It is there. Now, how does it work? That's the job of the Gever, to explain how it works. But he said it. Okay. This is wow. This is like.
I see what you mean now by Gever. I finally got it. It's almost like in science. This was the big shift when the British empiricists came on the scene. And they were making this kind of Gever move. They were saying, your ideas are very beautiful, but look at the facts.
Exactly.
Don't twist the facts. Like, look at the facts, and then we'll see how to explain them. But don't belie the facts.
Exactly. Don't push the facts into. And this is what I keep at Copernicus. Everyone knew that Mars went forward and backwards, and it was supposed to go in a complete circle. Everybody knew visually that was what was happening. But everybody forced Mars into the old think of the geocentric system. And they made up epic circles. It really is a thing. You can't see it. They made it. They made satisfactory explanations for the kasha. Came Copernicus and said, well, we don't have to do that. I can explain very elegantly by changing one little fact why Mars is going back and forward. Just make a heliocentric world. and you'll see it's beautiful. So everybody jumped on him. The church jumped on him. Everyone jumped. Well, come on. I see the sun is moving. I don't feel the earth moving. What are you doing? You're crazy. He said, I may be crazy. My theory is much more elegant than yours. And then I said, well, these, but you know what I mean? So this is what's going on over here. The Shach is saying, you guys believe reading the Gemara like Rashi, or reading the Gemara like Rabbeinu Tam. That's fine. But the Rambam is not thinking the way you're thinking. Where did he get it from? The Rambam comes from, Rabbeinu Hananel, Did you ever hear Rabbeinu Hananel? And look what Rabbeinu Hananel says here. But how did he know it? It's got to be a mistake. Don't relax. It's not a mistake. It is what it is. And we're going to explain it to you. How can you explain it? It makes no sense. Relax. Take it easy. I'll explain it to you. That's called, powerful. That's a direct, like you said, looking at the empiricists. Let's look at the evidence, not get pre-existing ideas that we have to make everything look the way it always was. And let's see, maybe this is a new look. Maybe we have a tremendous discovery here where like, going to change the world now. We're Einsteinian, people. I mean, the Rambam, it was Einstein. He knew how to learn. He wasn't a simple person. He said what he said, and he meant what he said. You can't figure it out because you don't see any Gemara that says it. It's your failing, not the Rambam's. That's why the Rambam had to write down his halachas, because he knew that you guys wouldn't be able to see it, because you're simplistic people, Gewaltic stuff, man. Wow. Yeah. No, it's I'm very happy that we're able to get to this level of depth, because not many people see this. Not many people see it. You can learn a lot of information and just be able to say it over, but to get to the level to see the force of what's going on here, it's a big schus. Baruch Hashem, mamish Baruch Hashem. Because we're watching the great people doing what they're really doing and not just saying over words. Everyone can say equals MC squared. You're not Einstein if you say equals MC squared. You don't even understand what he said. No, but I read in Wikipedia what it means. It means energy equals the force of light. So I'm like Einstein now. You know what I mean? Okay, you're not Einstein. You don't understand. Yeah.
What is interesting, I mean, just to go along with what you're saying, that it's, in math, you also get this. I mean, it's math and physics, and it's very similar to math in this respect, that the conclusion, when you create a mathematical deduction or any kind of scientific deduction based on induction and so on, you get the impression as you walk away that really the whole deduction is just something you have to suffer through in order to get to the conclusion. And somehow that the conclusion stands on its own. That once, some poor guy worked very hard in some little room on the deduction, but now we have the conclusion and we can handle it. But what this is showing, what I'm getting from this is that that's just a bluff. That there is no conclusion. In other words, the conclusion itself is meaningless. It has no, you don't even know what it's saying if you don't have the deduction. It has no standalone meaning. It's not, like you're saying, equals MC, what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything, equals MC squared. You don't really know what it really, you can repeat it like a parrot, but you don't actually get the meaning unless you bind it to the deduction itself, to the progress.
Exactly. Beautiful. That's exactly.
What's nice. See, what's nice about this, and then it really makes sense then why the Shas has to have the argument, because if following this you see that you can't even understand Rav Papa if you don't factor in Rav Huna into the argument with him.
Exactly.
Rav Papa by himself, you don't even know what Rav Papa is saying. You think you know what he's saying, but unless you're reading him vis-a-vis Rav Huna, you don't even know what he's saying.
Exactly. And that was one of the big problems with the Rambam. The Rambam said, what can I do? It's onus. People don't know how to learn. I have to write down the conclusions. And they yelled at him, wait a minute, but if you write the conclusions and no one's in the Gemara, you won't understand the dynamics. You won't see the dynamics. And in the dynamics, everything is happening. It's the conclusion only comes from the premises and from the way you're learning the Gemara. You can't cut off and just write conclusions. He said, well, what can I do? I write a book that's around 1,000 pages long. He said he was going to do it. But, I mean, what can he do to write a piece of Torah like this? He said, I'm going to leave it for the people who can do it to reconstitute what I did. But the people have to know what arm to put on tefillin. What am I going to do? They're learning one line of Gemara. That's very nice, but they don't know how to learn and how to say Birchas Hamazon. They don't know, if Mashiach comes, how to do the avoda. They won't know how to do anything. At least this way, they'll read the words and they will understand what I say to do. That's an advantage. That was the whole idea of the Shulchan Aruch revolution. No one ever did it before. Everybody understood the dynamics of the case, and then from there came out your conclusion. You always had to bring that dynamic. But the Rambam said, we've gone to a new era now of Hitkat Nasadaros. It ain't going to happen anymore. People don't have the heads to do it. But we, Baruch Hashem, have the opportunity. But taken in the yeshivas, to do this type of work takes a long time. When you're dealing with a class of 25, 35, 50 people, right, and they're all different levels, and some people are smarter, and it's very hard to communicate this depth. Very hard. And so the best thing they do is they do a lot of pieces and hope that 10%, 20%, 15%, or whatever it is, will get more or less. And as you do more and more, you get more and more involved. But unfortunately, people repeat their poor strokes, and they say, well, it's too difficult, and they say it's too complicated, and let's just learn the Shulchan Aruch. There's all sorts of reasons to get out of it, because it's very hard to be guided into this level. And that's really, Bezrat Hashem, that's really what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to guide through this one example people into the level of what's really going on, so that you can see the relationships that are being formed by the different Rishonim, and how each level is going to now talk about those relationships, because they must, in order to bring the complete picture in the halacha. But, that's what I'm really trying to do. That's what all the charts are about and all these things. It's all trying to bring people, as Baruch Hashem, and we came to this place. And this is we're only, what year are we now? Around 1500, 1530. We've got to get another 400 years down the road yet. Because, so there's a way to go, Baruch Hashem. But the point is, this is real learning. This is dealing with the molecules, the atoms, and the relationships.
Is this happening on every page of the Shach?
Every page. Every page. You cannot imagine how big these people are. You can't. It's beyond believability.
This makes Einstein look bad.
No, it does.
Not bad, but
no, he's very nice. He took one little topic. He thought about it his whole life. That's not bad. Imagine thinking about 3,100 pages with all these complex interactions, all these cluster of cases and constellation of cases and balancing and moves. Wow. And they did it. That's the people that get down on the page. If you're not at league, then you're not here. This is the major leagues over here. You know what I mean? If you're a little batter, that can read some Hebrew and translate some words, you're just not going to be on the page. So there is the Shach. There's the Shach. The Shach says, look, you think that I'm reading a very dochek reading of Rev Huna? Well, you have to look at what Rev Hananel said. He's learning Balchov, that there's a precedent of Kesev over Meitav from Rev Huna. Must mean that Rev Huna is saying that in Nezikin over here there's a precedent of Kesev over of Meitav. Well, how could he say such a thing? And believe me, everybody's up in arms with this Rabbeinu Hanel. He says, relax. It's called a hierarchical order. Didn't you ever hear of a hierarchical order? But how could you say such a thing, a hierarchical order? Sure, it makes technical sense, but where does he get it from? Relax, I'll explain it to you. We have a little bit more of the class to go. Wow. Okay, we really have to, again, there's so much depth to it. We have to read all the Rabbeinu Hananel. He says some people don't hold this, of course, and they split off Balcho from this, but it doesn't matter. So that's what he says. Now he goes like this. We have just a few minutes because I have to, for forgiveness in a little while. with the kahal. So that's what he says over here. He says, "V'chein," what I just said.
You just sleep at night?
Yeah, I do it at night. It's just easier for me because you wake up in the morning, and then I'd rather just do it at night, and then I know it's done and can wake up. And if I oversleep a little, I get an amshin of minion. But the sleep, I don't like to do it. When I do it in the morning and they chap shlap it, it's even at the night, it's not the most cool. But at least I can keep up and at least have some kavanah in the words. But in the morning, forget about it. You might as well just I don't know why you even yotzi. I mean you just. There's some minions around here. I mean, you have to be. Maybe people can do it. They're Olympic stars. You know what I mean? But by the time you put on tefillin, they're already saying Aleinu. I mean, how do they do that? Okay. Anyway, let's just review this piece. He says like this. This that I said of the hierarchical or in Rav Huna is muchrach lehedya from the words of the Truma, who brings us the Rabbeinu Hananel. Okay, he brought the Rabbeinu Hananel. We saw it on the page. Mavur Sham lehedya, it's clearly there that Gam Kain Das Rabbeinu Hananel, that there's a hierarchical order. Shehevi Sham Hach Rav Huna. Rev Hananel brought, the Baal Truma brought the Rev Hananel who talked about the Rav Huna. What did he say? And all the back and forth. So he got because of Bezelashino. This is the quote that the Truma said, Rabbeinu Hananel, which we just wrote. Because of Al Zer Rabbeinu Hananel Zal. Mehacha, from this case of Nezikin, Sheminan Delo Misalkin Balcho Ba'ara. From this case of Rav Huna in Nezikin, we hear that we don't let the debtor get away with giving land to the creditor, except elahechet de kamlan de leisle zuze lemifremine. Except in one case, if he has actually no money, then we let him give karka. But if he has money, we just read, he has to give the money. If he wants to hold on to his money, he could go sell his karka, but he cannot give karka. So we see hierarchy here from Reb Hananel, right? Now, there's another sefer, which we're eventually, if we spend more time, we can go into these original sources. I'll send them to, we have to spend more time. But now there's a sefer called the Gidule Truma, which is a sefer on the Sefer HaTruma, right? And he attacks brutally this Rabbeinu Hananel. Okay, he says Rabbeinu Hananel does not make any sense. So the Shach says, it's very nice, you don't like Rabbeinu Hananel, but he said what he said. Right? Now you want to know why he said it? I'm going to explain it to you, but you have a lot of problems. So the Gedule Truma says, he's Tama, al divrei Rabbeinu Hananel, v'henicham b'tzrichum. He has a lot of kashas. I have the piece, and we can see all his kashas if we had the time. He has loads of kashas on Rabbeinu Hananel from the fact of, wait a minute, there's no connection between, Baal Chov and Nezikin, and there's no such thing as, and it's obvious that the Rav Huna is holding an equal or. Where do you get this idea from? Because he hasn't thought about the hierarchical or. That's why. That's what the Shach will tell you, right? But that's his problem. If I explain that there's a hierarchical, then I solve everything. Now he says, "V'chei nir lehedya midivrei haravan." Now Ravan is a very early Balei Tosfos. I don't know if I wrote him down here. Okay, we won't go. You'll accept it from me. The Ravan.
Okay.
He's an very early Baal Tosfos. Just accept it. Okay. So he found that the Shach found in the words of the Ravan. Who's a Reish Babakama, Ayin Sham, and we're going to see the words, right? Here's the Ravan. With a click, you have the Ravan. Here he is. And he says, Mi shechayu based in L'Shalom Chavero, Malva or Nesek. When the Beis Din judges the case, sounds like the Rambam, huh? But he's a Rishon. Well, he says, when the Beis Din judges a case and says that the Malva or the Nizak is chayav to pay the Lova or, shechayav Beis Din L'Shalom L'Charo, Milova or Nizak, okay? You have to pay the Malva, I'm sorry, let's read it again. the lova or the nizak have to pay the malva or the mazik. That's not right. Again, the malva, no, the lova has to pay the malva, and the mazik has to pay the nizak. So I don't know how to read this exactly. L'shalom lechavro mi love o nezek. Maybe that's what it is.
Nezek, yeah, I was thinking that.
For nezek. Okay, but that's two cases, right? Ve'eno yochol l'kol ten kesev ela shava kesev afilu subin. Now he says like this: Kida Omar Rami lay. So what does he say here? First of all, any yochel lekofel ten kesev ela shava kesev afil subin. So the first text that's quoted here is that of Reb Papa that you give all three equally. Okay. Kid Omar in Zion Aleph and Aleph. Now Rami lay. That's our first Gemara. Rami lay Abaya. We're going to have to stop. I just want to give you a taste of it. We'll have to go back over this. Rami lay Abaya Larava. Okay. Anyway. Let me just see if I can get the quote here. Here's the end of the quote. Let's tell us, folks. Okay, it's not fair. Okay, it's chabal not to do this. Okay, let's pick up the Rivan next time. Okay, do it properly because it's just, you know, we might as well just say he says it already. That's not really fair. Okay, so Beseder. So Bez Hashem, we'll see you. Now what's happening with Rosh Hashanah and everything? Oh yeah. Rosh Hashanah is ready. So I don't think we can do it on Sunday, right? It's already going to be Erev Rosh Hashanah. It's very short.
Yeah, it's Erev Rosh Hashanah.
Okay, so let's push after Rosh Hashanah, and then there's Tzom Gedalia on Wednesday.
Tzom Gedalia, so maybe on. That's also not because maybe on Thursday.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, let's shoot for Thursday, but confirm with me, okay? Thursday is good for me.
Yeah.
We can learn. If it's good for you, just give me.
I'm sure it'll be fun.
Okay.
I'm sure it's fun.
Okay, but also remind me so I don't forget. So let's be in contact Thursday. Bezrat Hashem. Have a wonderful Rosh Hashanah. And Hashem should be Mezaka, us all in Din, and we won't even need Yom Kippur, and Mashiach will come, and just be able to sit and learn depth of Torah. Gam Lavar.
Exactly.
Okay, be well. Okay, we'll see you. Go to. Go to.